Well, good afternoon, folks. Hope you were able to get something to eat. Welcome to this session by Sarah, all the way from Madison, Wisconsin, that is. I don't know if is there another Madison somewhere around the country? No? That's a pop quiz. So just to introduce Sarah, she is in charge of all things Tableau at American Family Insurance. And that includes the Center of Excellence that the folks there have very wisely put together. And she's been doing Tableau work for about 2.5 years, including a Tableau server. And she's going to be talking to us this afternoon about their Tableau journey. I do have a favor to ask you. When we get to the Q&A, we'll be running around with this microphone. So when you ask the question, if you don't mind using the mic, because this session is being recorded, and we want to make sure that the audio works well for folks to listen to that later. So Sarah, thanks again for helping us out with this session, and appreciate your time here this afternoon.
Sounds great. Thanks, Peter. Hi, everyone. So like Peter said, wow, that's loud. Like Peter said, I'm Sarah Weber from American Family Insurance, and our office is located in Madison, Wisconsin. I'm so excited to be here sharing my topic of raising our Tableau baby. Now, I'm sure you're all wondering how I came up with this topic, because admittedly, it's a bit cheesy. But again, I'm from Wisconsin. We are cheeseheads. It just makes sense, right? But really, when I was thinking about our journey with Tableau, I was really taken back to my early days as a reporting and analytics specialist in our life company at American Family. It was my job to not only create reports that would tell people information about our business, but also to look for insights and opportunities through analytics. The problem, like probably many of you face, is the way we had to get at our data was a challenge. It was very time-consuming. It took a lot of data prep, a lot of manual steps, and in the end, we were oftentimes just producing a PDF or maybe an Excel workbook that if we were lucky, we could include a pivot table for some interactive end user availability. Not ideal. And to make matters worse, we spent so much of our time doing all of that legwork and all of that report development, we never actually had time to do true analytics. It was all reactive reporting. I just knew there had to be a better way, and I'm sure you guessed it, there was. A friend of mine had used Tableau previously and shared the wonders of Tableau and what it could bring for us. So I quickly downloaded the trial and got my director to approve me for an individual license at American Family. Now, it wasn't long before I realized that other users at American Family, other reporting specialists, were facing the same troubles. They had also seen the wonders of Tableau, and they all had their individual licenses as well. So we decided it was time. We needed to form together. We created a grassroots committee and really petitioned our IT department to consider purchasing Tableau as a corporate BI tool. So I know you're still wondering where this Tableau baby story comes in, right? Well, here it is. I was pregnant with our third child when we were going through all of the implementation processes and purchasing decisions. We were getting ready to implement Tableau, and we spent a long time making sure that we had done everything just right. We had set up our governance plans, done proof of concepts, figured out our environment setup, completed trainings, and everything else that goes with it. Shortly before we were ready to implement in our server environment, we were all so excited. I was blessed with my daughter's arrival, Alexis. I did not name her Tableau. And I was enjoying some maternity leave and time off with her at home. So it was bittersweet to be home enjoying this cutie, but kind of also hard to know that my fellow analysts and committee members were enjoying the fruits of our labor. I didn't get to be one of those first few authors of visualizations like I had hoped, or more importantly, see the look of amazement on our viewers' eyes as they were interacting with our dashboards for the first time. What I did get while on leave, however, was a job offer. We had a new team forming that was going to be supporting Tableau from a corporate level. So upon my return to the office, I was able to dedicate myself nearly exclusively to helping us succeed with Tableau. My new position in the company was in the Information Strategy and Business Enablement team, originally structured within the business. It didn't take long, and we were soon moved into the IT organization, and that's where we sit today. To be honest, myself and my peers still kind of see ourselves as business people at heart. So that's where this story begins, looking at how we've raised our Tableau baby from those early days to toddlerhood, and moving beyond as we continue to mature every day. So sticking with this theme, I've broken out some key topics to share with you today. Our happy family, how our COE supports our Tableau user community and brings true collaboration to the organization. Playdates, how we've engaged our user community. Growing pains, working through some of the challenges that culture change can bring. Playing fair, supporting business self-service needs while maintaining IT governance and structure needs. The terrible twos, dealing with some unruly server behavior. And lastly, moving into toddlerhood, the specific strategy that we employed to take Tableau to the next level. But before we jump into that agenda, I do want to share just a little bit about American Family and our Tableau environment. Our national headquarters is located in Madison, Wisconsin, and we have about 8,000 employees and 3,000 agents. Now, hopefully you all already know about American Family and what we're all about because you carry our insurance. If not, you should. But just in case, we have friendly agents that are located across the 19 states that are shaded in blue on the screen. And we also have additional companies within our group, including The General, you may have seen some of their commercials on TV, and HomeSite. And that allows us to provide coverage for our customers across 49 states. At American Family, it is truly our mission to inspire, protect, and restore dreams, because we believe it is the most important thing you will ever own. I'm not going to read through all of the stats on the screen, but we've been living this mission for nearly 90 years. And actually, these 2015 annual report numbers are already out of date. We passed 10 million policies in force this past summer, which was a big accomplishment for us. But now what you really want to know, Tableau at American Family. We started out with 67 desktop authors, and each year we have expanded that number based on the estimated needs from our divisions across the company. Today we sit at 216 desktop licenses. We have around 2,400 approved viewers across 30 production level projects on our server. And we also have an additional 30 projects that are used for development and collaboration. We have two separate environments. Our initial environment was our internal server. That's for our employees to use throughout the company. Our second environment is brand spanking new. It's our external agency environment that just went in. We literally just released in the last 2 weeks ago, released dashboards in a pilot group of agents for them to understand more about their business. We're preparing for a full rollout to all 3,000 agents by the end of the year. Based on the last few months of our setup, development, and a lot of lessons learned, I'm pretty sure that at TC17 I could do a whole session just about this new environment and what we've not only succeeded with, but probably also, again, those lessons learned. So, our happy family. And I'm not talking about this cute little family you see on the screen. Today I'll be talking about our internal Tableau Analytics Advisory Group. It's our TAG. Now, some companies call it a COE, or your Center of Excellence. But we've used that term quite a bit around American Family, and so to avoid confusion, we just created our own. So we actually have a few different AGs at our company representing our different tools. One of the first major roles I played when jumping into my new role was to help lead, guide, and support this analytics advisory group. Our group started out as the individuals who were first part of that implementation committee, that grassroots committee that I talked about earlier. From there, we invited additional users. So we'd make sure that we had decent representation from all the divisions and departments across American Family. We call these individuals our division leads. And just as it sounds, these individuals represent their division from both the editors and the end user consumer perspective. It is their job to bring information from their division to us as a group, as well as push information back out. They are the go-to person in their division for all things Tableau. Of course, they also fill a similar role at the corporate level or for departments that may not have representation in this group. But we believe that the business owns their data as well as the messages they want to send out with it. We also include our Tableau administrator, which is an IT function, as well as a representative from our security teams, just to make sure we have all the right people at the table when we get together. We have a lot of fun as a team, and we truly work together great and want to make sure that we all succeed because we all love the power of Tableau. We started out meeting weekly. We had plenty to talk about and to get things moving, but recently moved to bi-weekly as we have most of our processes and kinks worked out. Bi-weekly's been perfect. It allows us to get a little bit more productivity out of our time together, but still frequent enough to stay current and understanding what everyone's working on. So what does this group really do? Well, first we serve as a governance committee. We set up and talk about things like our change to production processes. We review monitoring reports to better understand what's happening in our server environment. We review and assess our server permissions and talk about the pros and cons of turning features on or off, like web editing. We also determine the best processes that support our Tableau environment and our end users. Things like, how should people request new server projects? How will we handle license transfers from one user to another? And how will our publishing processes work within our divisions? That's just the beginning of the things we talk about in our meetings. One of the responsibilities of our division leads is to manage the licenses that have been allocated to their division. Each division is given a set number of licenses, and then they work within their teams and the managers to assign those to actual individuals. They also help estimate the number of counts that they'll need from year to year. They bring those counts forward to me, and I pull together a business case to make the case to purchase a bulk of corporate licenses. Division leads are also responsible for most of the onboarding of our new users. Once a new desktop author is approved for the software, I officially assign them their license key and send them a Welcome to Tableau letter. This email includes instructions on how to download the software, their license key, training links, doctor session information, as well as an introduction to their division lead. From there, it becomes that division lead's responsibility to make sure they get up and running with Tableau in the most effective way they can. They also request any server permissions they need at that time as well. Our group talks a lot about training. If they see some users struggling, or they've gotten requests from authors, they'll bring it to the group, and we'll decide whether it makes sense to maybe offer something at a corporate level, or just work with them individually as needed. Hearing what other divisions need in our meetings often helps others realize, hey, we could use that too in our division. And it gives us opportunities to leverage the company and the resources we have. Our group would then work together to figure out whatever the plan needs to be and implement that moving forward. Our division leads are also given the opportunity to participate in beta testing. This is not something we require of them, but it's a fun opportunity to see what's coming up with Tableau and provide feedback back to Tableau in the process. This preview of what's to come in future releases also helps them understand how they can best support their authors as they look to future visualizations. Finally, our group is involved in both reviewing release notes for fixes and upgrades, assessing if we feel that update is important to us, and then doing the final testing of the final release before we would move to production. Moving on to playdates and how we've engaged our user community. In late 2015, we started offering doctor sessions, just like you see offered here at conference. We offer them twice a week, and we've gotten great feedback, and we have great attendance. A few of the key things that we've learned in managing our doctor sessions is that we encourage people to come even if they don't have a specific question of their own. Oftentimes, just hearing the conversation in the room inspires new questions of their own or new design ideas. Second, we learn as much as doctors in those sessions as the patients do. It can be intimidating for someone to volunteer to be a doctor, and that's one thing we struggled with early on. It's intimidating to be considered as someone who could answer any question related to Tableau, and it comes out of nowhere. But what we've learned is that we don't have to have the answer in that exact moment. We work together as a team to find the answer. It's really scarier than it sounds. Sometimes it's even another patient in the room that can offer the answer as opposed to the doctor. It's really proven time and time again at American Family as a fabulous opportunity for cross-divisional collaboration and really gets people working together. It's actually been so successful that 2 other software tools at American Family have started offering doctor sessions as well. But we like to think we pioneered it, at least at AmFam. One thing I did here at conference last year and has worked well for us is to make sure that you always have kind of a standard date or day of the week, time and place for your sessions. That way people always know where they can go and they're not scrambling to find out which room to go to on which week. We even schedule it on their calendars as free time or optional, but that way it's always kind of in their minds and they know they have a safe place they can go to get help. So when it comes to formal training, I actually consider this to be an area of lessons learned for us. At our initial implementation, we held both the fundamentals and the advanced training course, but that was for a very limited audience. You all know that the Tableau training classes are limited appropriately to 15 people. This didn't quite meet the needs, but we weren't prepared to invest as much as we would have needed to get everybody up to speed. And besides, we all know what fabulous online resources there are for Tableau. We really thought that we could just manage to get the rest of the editors up to speed through some cross-training and pointing them to Tableau's online videos and materials. We've learned over time, though, that some people just need that hands-on training class. Not only is it about the content, but it's forced time away from their desks to focus and truly get inspired and excited about using Tableau. I've gone so far as scheduling the training intentionally at an entirely different office building because it forces them to check out of their day jobs, not run out for a meeting, and things like that. Now we do what we can to offer 2 to 4 classes per year for our end users. After one of our editors attended a formal data visualization training session, best practices training session, a few of our authors decided to pull together an American Family specific best practices training course. We offer these sessions a couple of times per year based on the needs of the users, but we don't restrict it to Tableau users. We feel we need to make sure that people across the company, regardless of the tools that they use, understand the value of good visualization, regardless of the software they're using. We also provide lunch and learns for our end users. These 1-hour lunchtime sessions have included topics like the art of possibility with Tableau, or an introduction to parameters. Sometimes we offer lunch and we provide that to the attendees, and other times we let them bring their own. Obviously, bringing food in for them gets a few more attendees, but we always have good attendance no matter what. People love Tableau and want to learn everything they can about it. Another Lunch and Learn event that we held was an internal Viz competition, and this was by far my most favorite event we've had so far. I was completely inspired last year at conference by the Viz competition, and I knew we had to try it out at American Family. I really didn't know if we'd actually get any users to want to sign up. That's another scary, intimidating event, right? But we actually had to turn teams away. We ended up with 5 teams competing, and the winner would move on to compete at the local Madison Tableau user group meeting at another event that we would be hosting at our facility. We provided local parks data to the teams a few days in advance, and it gave them a chance to review and practice with the data. But when it came time for the big day, just like you see here at conference, they had to start from scratch and build it live in front of an audience on the big screen. Which again, as a side note, if you don't have plans to attend the Viz competition on Wednesday, you need to change your plans because it's fabulous and you will walk away just mind blown. But anyway, back to our event. It truly engaged our authors and it got their managers and other employees excited about Tableau too. They all wanted to come and watch and kind of hear the buzz about what's going on with Tableau. And it was really a fun way to learn and grow together as a team. Online communities. So we've had a Tableau users online community since our implementation, and we use it as a place to share tips and tricks, answer questions, post links and materials, our process notes, pretty much anything you can imagine, we post it out there for end users to grab. It's kind of like an internal social media of our own Tableau community inside American Family. We also have plans to host a Tableau Day, kind of a mini conference of sorts held on site to inspire, engage, and educate not only our authors, but our visualization consumers as well. This event will share out some of the cool things that our team has done with Tableau and highlight some of our success stories. Finally, we try to keep our editors up to date as to what's happening with our local Madison Tableau user group. Both one of our division leads, Dan Mazaki, who's in the front row right here today, and myself are members of our Madison Tug leadership team under the direction of Pat McCormick, who's also sitting here today. We try to make sure that we're presenting ideas that will resonate with our users and typically host an event at our facility at least once a year. It's simply a great way to get your editors thinking outside of the normal day-to-day work they do, whether it's with Tableau or not. It gives them different points of views from different industries, and having the chance to network with people is obviously always a good thing too. Oh yes, growing pains. Can't all be fun and games with Tableau, right? And that's my daughter's favorite move, with thumb in the mouth, finger in the nose. So working through some of the challenges that culture change brings. One of the things that we have faced is people thinking that Tableau is just yet another reporting tool. And I'm sure it's hard for all of us to imagine here, but there are some people who think that Tableau might be just another fad that will soon be replaced by something else. Why can't we just use Excel or another reporting tool and get the same or at least similar results? Do we need to take time and resources to implement, learn, and develop something new? Or can't the old standbys do the trick? We've found that no matter how often we try to tell them that Tableau is really something special, we really just need to show them. About a year ago, we had a few data discovery workshops where we were able to truly impress some managers and leaders with really quick insights and opportunities for them to play with their own data. We didn't worry about having everything perfectly polished. That would come. But we just needed to show them that the possibility existed and get them excited. Another item we continue to work on is balancing what the customer says they want versus using Tableau to tell the real story. When your end users are used to large PDFs with rows and columns of numbers, they kind of get used to turning to page 42 and finding the stat that they want, closing it, and moving about their day. It seems illogical to any of us that anyone would want to continue to live like that, but it is a fact of life. People find comfort in what they know. And that's something we struggle with and continue to work on every day, to try to transition people to visualizations that give them both opportunities to find answers to real business questions. Sometimes that means we have to give them both views for a period of time. Hopefully, we make those visualizations so insightful and stunningly beautiful that they start to not only appreciate them, but ask for more. Another hard part, whoa, sorry. 1 second. Another hard part is deciding who will get licenses. Tableau is cool, right? Everybody wants a license, but we can't afford to give one to everyone. So I get the pleasure of deciding how many licenses each division will get, and then the division leads, again, work with those managers to decide who in their division will actually get the license. We really want to make sure their licenses are being used to their fullest extent. Now, we've always been able to see who and how often people were publishing things to server, right? But when it comes down to people just using desktop for day-to-day analysis and data discovery, and they're not publishing to server, how do we know what they're doing? Well, thanks to Tableau 10 and the new features in the desktop server usage views, we'll be able to have more insight into that information. That data will give us more clear information about where those licenses are really being used, and maybe some areas where we could consider license transfers and get more use out of those licenses. Playing fair. As a business community, we loved the idea of being able to connect whatever data we wanted, whenever we wanted it, and on our terms. And while self-service is a concept that's been talked about for a while, having that truly available is another story. When we were in our early implementation processes, we talked through the things that we wanted to be able to do, but made sure we had the right devil's advocates, I'll say, in the room to help pose those questions so we could take those challenges head on. What would be our approach for making sure our data was vetted? How would we make sure that we were creating better reporting opportunities, and not just another report with more numbers to look at? When it was all said and done, we decided to implement what we call a decentralized governance model. 2 individuals, one of which is usually that division lead role, and then a secondary backup person, are assigned as the official publishers to their certified projects. These individuals assume the full responsibility of final quality checks on data, visualization best practices, any divisional standards they have for look and feel, as well as assessing workbook performance. We knew that we would run into questions, of course, and maybe even problems along the way, but we also knew we'd never think of everything. By getting the right people in the room, keeping open minds, and being willing to consider new ways of thinking, we were able to successfully gain the buy-in we need to move forward. And it certainly felt challenging at times, but taking that baby steps approach really proved beneficial in getting everyone on board. This collaboration not only was important in the early stages, but particularly as we began to venture into the world of publishing Tableau data sources. In our former lives, we were used to IT creating business objects universes for us. So the idea that the business could and wanted to create their own semantic layer of sorts with their own calculations, their own rules, well, it was a little scary for IT and for the business. We knew that good things could come, and that was a huge opportunity with Tableau, but there was still fear in the fact that things could go wrong along the way. Taking small steps, and by having IT and the business teams working together, we realized we could learn a lot from each other and really do great things. It wasn't about requirements passing back and forth. It was sitting at a table together in the same room in a setting where learning as you go was not only okay, but it was encouraged. We even used what we learned through an iterative development process to make decisions about how we would design future databases and data sources. Another scenario we've worked through with both our IT division and the business is through our beta and upgrade testing that I mentioned earlier. Through our analytics advisory group, we worked with our Tableau administrator and gained the support for allow us to participate in beta testing. This isn't something that we always just do for fun, even though it is. It also gives us a head start on planning for testing that we would need to do for an eventual implementation of the official release. Initially, we discussed doing this on a case-by-case basis, release by release. But everything has gone so well for us that we now work it into our annual planning process so that all the teams are prepared and in place for when new releases and beta tests are available. We certainly still do reviews of release notes when they come out and make sure that it's a good fit for us. But knowing that both IT and the business is on board with us staying current is a great feeling, and something not always the case at big companies. The terrible twos. So this is actually a recent addition to the presentation. It wasn't in the description of the event that you signed up for today. To be honest, for the first 2 years of our server, we never really experienced any significant issues. Server was responsive, our publishing was going well, and our end users were happy. And then it happened this summer. We had 1, and then 2, and then 3 users tell us that something strange was going on the server, and things were getting really slow. And then we were dead in the water with no obvious cause. Now, thankfully, we were all in an all hands on deck meeting setting up our new Tableau environment I mentioned earlier. So we actually already had the right people in the room to kind of troubleshoot and figure out what was going on. We also took the opportunity to enlist Tableau support to help us figure out what was happening. We had periods of both stability and instability over a period of a few weeks, and it was awful. But we captured log after log, and we watched our server activity. We reviewed what changes had been made, and so much more. And after much review, troubleshooting, adjustments, and rollbacks, daily war room-like meetings where we made it back to finally consistent stability. And we actually may never have the exact silver bullet as to what specifically made things go wrong. What it did do is it brought insight and education to our team like we never would have gotten otherwise. These types of things are painful for everyone to go through, but they truly do make us stronger in the end. It's fostered great partnerships across our internal teams at American Family, as well as with our Tableau Elite support team. It's also helped us realize the importance of regular performance monitoring, published data source reviews, and looking at reviewing additional governance processes. We are implementing tools like TabMon and TabJolt, and instituting more regular audits. Maturing in our use of Tableau is great, but the more it's depended upon across the organization, the more we need to add that rigor and review to the process. It's definitely a fine balance that we have learned, and something that you have to refine and build out for your own environments. So here we are in the toddler years. When I stepped into my role, I really wanted to find ways to really take Tableau to the next level, to really further us up that maturity scale that Tableau talks about. Many of the things that I shared with you today were part of a comprehensive strategy that I put together based on what I learned at last year's conference. I was literally on the plane home, reviewing all my notes, had my laptop out, and developing my own specific American Family strategy. I made a list of specific and actionable steps that I would take in the categories you see on the screen: user development, data access and consistency, creating wins and sharing Tableau success stories, and engaged user community, as well as continued tool support, management, and administration. You see here literal screenshots from my strategy presentation. Obviously, the final view that appears is our overall timeline, and that was probably the most critical piece, setting some dates and sticking to them as much as possible. Otherwise, it's just too easy to get out of the day-to-day, troubleshooting and development and assistance, and really move that needle at a corporate level. I'll be honest, we didn't get through everything we wanted to, but I truly believe that having this plan really helped us get into the toddlerhood phase. I know that TC16 has already left me with new and fresh ideas. I'm so excited about some of the information we heard this morning. You can bet that they will be incorporated into a 2017 strategy document. on the way home on Thursday. I hope that what I have shared with you today will help you develop your own strategies and your own ideas for your own organizations. I'd love to hear from you on your experiences. What's worked well and maybe not so well? Feel free to reach out and we can connect here at the conference this week or online through the channels listed on the screen. Don't forget to fill out your session evaluation as part of the app. And of course, please check out dreamfearlessly.com. With that, I'll open it up for questions.
Thanks, Sarah. And just a reminder, please let me pass the microphone to you if you have a question for Sarah so we can get it on the recording.
Can you talk a little bit about your engagement of the user community? It seemed like there was a lot of focus on your desktop kind of folks. Who's responsible for kind of training those consumers of that stuff?
That's a good question. So our focus pretty much has been initially on our authors and their desktop. And the division leads really work one-on-one with the consumers. As we develop new projects, they're saying who gets permission to view that project, right? So they would be working on getting them training. We have a best practices guide for using server, that type of thing. In our new environment, our consumers are our agents, and they need a little bit more hand-holding. We don't introduce our dashboards to them in the server. That's a little too overwhelming, so we give them a portal view, and they can navigate within that, and it's a little more suited to their world. So hopefully there isn't a lot of training or that kind of thing that's needed. Another thing we did do is a manager training session. And it wasn't necessarily for the managers who would always be using Tableau, but it was helping give our authors the support they need in when they push back on using pie charts, or the things that their managers or people say they want to see a big cross-tab of data, and the authors don't want to do it and they want to stay strong, but it's their manager who signs their paycheck. And so we thought if we could provide a manager training session to help them understand data visualization best practices, our environment, kind of give them that high-level overview, it might give them a little better leeway as an author. So honestly, we haven't done a whole lot for our consumers. We are hoping our Tableau Day that we'll get some of those people brought in and engaged in the process as well.
You mentioned about projects. Mm-hmm. Why did you decide projects versus sites for the different divisions, possibly, or products?
So we decided early on to use projects. All of our data is, the permissioning that we could set within projects was adequate enough. We didn't feel that we needed sites to kind of wall things off. So based on our needs, we didn't really feel that we needed to implement additional sites. With our recent implementation of the new environment for our agents, we considered doing a separate site for that, but we really wanted to make sure our internal environment is a more loosely governed area, and our developers can kind of do what they want and publish what they want within some constraints, of course. But the agency environment is much more structured and rigorous. We wanted to make sure that we had the technical infrastructure set up differently for them. It's highly available, all of that type of thing. So we used a totally separate environment instead of sites for that instance. Does that help? Okay.
So I have a question. So how do you do the data governance? So let's say different kind of data points are coming from different IT systems. Mm-hmm. How do you convert that kind of IT speak to an enterprise speak? Because let's say there are different policy status. Now different IT systems give policy status in a different kind of data points. Yep. So how do you decide that if I will take a policy status, I'll take it from this IT system and this will be that system? So that requires a lot of data governance and kind of, understanding across different businesses. Right. So have you guys, what's your thought on that?
So again, it's a little bit different between our two environments. So in our internal environment, we let our business access, they kind of can go after whatever data that they're already authorized to see. So they can connect up to our Green Plum databases. They can connect up to anything they want pretty much and publish it out, just like they could do if they were creating reports in Excel in the old days or that kind of thing. So we allow them that freedom, and we haven't governed our data sources very much in that environment yet. I see us going there, not too far in the future, as we've learned a lot in our agency build out. In that environment, we have IT, people from my team, and the business all working together to develop the published data sources. What we saw earlier about the certified data sources, I was like excited, like sign me up today. That is what we need. We need that vetted process to go through, and somebody brilliant to mark that check mark to say, yes, this is our authorized and published data source that has been certified, and not restrict people from being able to publish it, but now we know which ones to use. So right now we do a lot of it manually. We sit at a table, we figure it out, and then we put it in one project that's certified or one project that's not, and it's kind of just manually put together. And having the features that Tableau can offer will be huge. But it really is people just sitting in a room and talking through. We grabbed one field and then we do our data validation and it doesn't work, and someone else says, well, you shouldn't have been using that table, you should have been using this table over here. Oh, light bulbs go off, we go back, and it's iterative, and we just have to work through it. So we don't have a magic answer.
From maybe I'm reading more into what you said than what you said,
Okay.
but it sounded like you had a probably not so easy journey, in getting through this.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously a lot of courage aspect to it too, but beyond that, this didn't come as a top-down ask, right? I mean, you went in. So what challenges you faced from leadership, and how do others, try to go over it? Because one thing which I don't think you very clearly said is, if you had another tool, other than Excel or something, which was replaced. So were there any political landmines? How did all of that happen?
Yes, political landmines, absolutely. So I do want to make sure. So our journey, it was not totally painful, right? It probably left you feeling that, it was wonderful, right? And we've got this great tool and we do great things. But it has been challenging for a lot of reasons that many of you probably face at your organizations. At enterprise levels, it's not just we only have Tableau or we only have Excel. You have multiple tools. And in my team, so it's information strategy and business enablement. And we are supposed to, I sit more on the business enablement side. It's really our jobs to enable the business using BI tools to do the research and analytics they need, whether that's through better understanding of our data, through use of our tools, that type of thing. I have a peer, so I lead the Tableau side of it. I have a peer who represents business objects, I have a peer who represents SAS, and the three of us sit in a little triangle and work together to say, okay, how do we complement each other? It doesn't have to be one versus the other, although we have a lot of fun poking at each other, because Tableau is the best. But it's working through helping our users understand which tool to use for the right situation. It's not always black and white. So this is something we've been working on for a while, is coming up with different guidelines, I'll use loosely, and recommendations for if a business objects universe already exists. It has all the data you need a static report run every Friday. Just stick with business objects. You don't have to recreate it in Tableau because it's cool. Even though it would be fun and you could do better things with it, that's what I say. You don't need to go beyond what it needs to be. Do what's right for the end user and what their needs are. So we're trying to put together kind of flows and guidelines to say, if this is the data you have, or this is the requirement you need, then you should be using Tableau versus business objects. And we definitely, we have been set up with the business objects world for a while, so it's very enterprise ready for us. Moving our agency environment to Tableau was huge. and a big political landmine to get people to understand why we shouldn't just stick with what we already had in place and that we were set up for. What was Tableau going to bring that was new and really going to move our agents into the future? So it was a lot of time. I mean, I talked a lot about just like sitting at tables together and proving out and showing them. That's really what made the difference for our leaders, was sitting down and showing them, this is what our agents see today. 30 different reports. They go here, here, and here. We did CBAs to say the amount of time they spend pulling their data together. And then we showed them a possible Tableau dashboard. And of course, they're all like, wow, and clapping and all excited about the idea. So it's showing them and just being persistent. As far as the top-down approach versus moving up, so we did start fairly grassroots, which is not typically what happens at our organizations, or at least for us. So that was a little bit of a challenge too, because they said, who is the business and why are they telling us what we need? We should be presenting the tools, to them for them to use. So it was a little bit of a challenge to work together, but again, like just showing them and working through, they quickly got on board. And as long as we followed our corporate policies for making sure that we went through vendor selection and made sure, we all knew we wanted Tableau, but let's do our due diligence and make sure what our requirements were going to be met by this new tool. In terms of getting it up the chain to leadership, we're still working on it. We have different levels of leadership who already are using our dashboards, but I'm hoping to really get it to that executive level soon. They use it to some extent, but not where I think the power lies, where we could get them there. So I think there's a session this week that I'm going to attend that'll help me do that. So.
Give me 2 minutes to get to the back.
Yeah, so thanks for explaining how you have SAS and business objects and Tableau, because we have that as well.
Okay.
But one of the things that I'm interested in is how involved are you guys in the prepping of data, ETLs, that type of upstream stuff to feed your visualizations and business object universes, SAS analysis, et cetera?
So for any of the tools?
Yeah, primarily for Tableau, but just
Right.
you can in general also.
Sure. So in the Tableau world, like I said, in our existing internal environment, we don't get too involved in any of that. Just generally speaking, the makeup of our team has different levels of experience from the IT side versus being on the business and understanding more of the business usage of the data versus the prepping of it and getting it more in the technical infrastructure side of it. So it kind of varies more by the individual and how much we get involved in some of that. Again, particularly for the internal instance, we allow the business person to work with the people they know on the IT side, and we help out where we can to make sure that they're getting what they need. But they're really kind of in their own world, and it is a little bit Wild West-ish, right? In this new environment where it is more governed, that is where we are closely working together with IT and the business. My team is the only people who can publish data sources or any dashboards actually to the production environment. So we have that extra step of vetting, and we're really, really ingrained in that development process of data sources to make sure that they're being developed appropriately and then hopefully can be reused across the organization.
Well, looks like all the questions are answered, Sarah. So a round of applause, please, for Sarah. Thank you very much.